Hello and welcome to Red Stain Radio, a Dead by Daylight podcast. I am one of your hosts, Bryson, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Stevie and Maddie.
Why, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
How's it going, y'all?
Hey, fantastic. Oh my gosh. Just watching cartoons and being lazy all day.
Yes. Oh my god, I had a
What
great day
cartoons?
today. I got some
Oh,
Starbucks.
you got Starbucks? Shh, I got coffee from local coffee places here. Insert
Okay.
the name of places
okay,
here.
flex on me, I guess.
Call her
Much
out,
better.
call her out.
Screw Starbucks.
First
watching
of all,
Voltron,
what
though.
cartoons? Voltron?
Watching Voltron.
Okay.
Voltron.
Legendary
Which
Defender.
one?
Legendary Defender.
Okay.
Okay.
The DreamWorks Netflix joint.
Very nice,
Mhm.
very nice.
Through
And
season
Maddie?
7 and one season left, so almost there.
Okay,
Okay.
there you go. Hey,
Maddie.
near the end. And Maddie, what is your go-to Starbucks order so I can judge you?
Oh
No, I'm
god. Recently, it's been kind of just doing whatever I want, but recently it's been matcha frappe. Don't judge. I like matcha. Don't judge
Okay.
me. I like matcha, but I've been having
Nope,
matcha
nope.
frappes. But today I had like a coconut cream frappe or something like that.
Ooh.
It was pretty good.
Sounds
She
good.
needs her
I love
milkshake.
coconut.
I need a bit
Yeah.
my milkshake.
Yeah,
That's
it
my
isn't like a
cookie, that's my
dessert,
juice.
isn't it? It's kind of Swedish too.
It definitely has the sugar content of a fucking
Mhm.
dessert. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Awesome. I usually just get black coffee anywhere I go. So how original. That or cold brew if they don't have iced coffee.
Cold brew is so good. Yeah.
Yeah, love me some cold brew.
You got any milk? You got any creamer?
No, it's always black.
Yeah,
Always.
Yeah. Like you said.
Really?
Like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Yep.
awesome.
So I know how
Hotter
original.
iced. Some days you're feeling wild and you're like, let me get that.
Yeah, hot now as you can see I'm drinking hot, but so in the summers I go primarily iced, in the winters I go hot, and then fall and spring I'm like switching between the two. Like it's crazy. So that's how much I switch
Yeah.
And make it easy.
Yeah, I don't. But regardless, coffee is kind of on topic today because this is episode 46 of Red State Radio, and we're discussing the lore of Alan Wake. So I'm sure this will have a total of 3 listeners because people love Alan Wake. I'm kidding.
What?
Thank you all for tuning
Yes.
in. Alan Wake was not a huge chapter, nor did it make a huge splash. The games also did not make huge splashes. But,
Oh, at all. No, those games were terrible.
yeah,
we're doing
awful.
it a service by talking about it right now.
Oh my god.
I'm a huge Alan Wake fan, so you're going to hear me
Same
gush
here.
about it.
We cannot
And
slight Alan Wake anymore.
I
I couldn't
can't
do
wait
it
to
with a
talk
straight
about it.
face.
You know, wait. I raised my hand. I have something to say.
Go for it, Manny.
This is a really fun lore episode because this is normally I'm the lore expert. I'm like, this is what this is about, or you guys are like tangentially like, yeah, I'm aware of this, or I'm a fan of this, like Alien or Halloween. But this is the first episode I think where I know nothing, and you guys are kind of like the lore experts. So we're doing like a little switcheroo of
perfect.
roles today.
Yeah,
God.
and we're only
I'm
covering the
loosely
first.
acquainted, so I'm learning a lot.
Hey, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, and this will orient you on the first game at least, and then
Yeah.
the DVD lore related to it. So, but before we get into Alan Wake lore, we want to let you all know you should go follow us on Twitch. We're streaming DVD
Please.
regularly, and we have some special streams coming up, like our DVD 10-year anniversary live reaction that is on June
Yes.
14th. That's on a Sunday. Not sure what time it is yet. We'll let you know as soon as we do. Tune in, watch our live reactions, and just react to us. After the live stream is over, the DVD one, I should say, we're going to have just a discussion about everything we just talked about or everything we saw on the live
Exactly.
stream. So stay tuned and go over there and follow us. We're at like 20 followers. Help us reach 50 so we can become Twitch affiliates. That's a word. Yeah.
The magical affiliate push.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. It'd be a cool step. So go over there and follow us. Maddie and I had a great stream earlier this
Oh my
week,
God, that was
and
so
it was a
fun.
blast. A lot of
Y'all
people
were
tuned
great.
in.
Y'all were great.
We did amazing on Chucky and Pyramid Head during Q&A.
Oh God, we were
Trust me.
killing it. Killing it.
We
I
were
am
so good.
I am a top 3 Pyramid Head player. Just
I
to
am
warn y'all.
best Chucky NA #1 actually. They call me the Chuckster.
Cap.
The Chuckster, yeah.
Oh no, it is 100% Cap. We got bullied. We were so bad.
Yeah, I think we had a total of like 8 hooks by the end of it. It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad.
But we had a
We
Dracula.
did get 1 kill.
And Trapper
We did
gave it
get
up. It was
one.
so good.
Yeah, that was our
Actually,
last one, and we
And that was our last
killed that.
one. You can check our VODs. Go check our VODs.
Yeah,
And
you
on
can check out the VOD on the
YouTube.
Twitch, and it's also on our YouTube. So the VOD one will
Yes.
expire after 7 days. The video on demand for YouTube will not expire. So just go over to our channel, hit the live tab, and it will be there.
Yes. You should do that. You should
Um,
do that. Please do that.
You should do that. Yep. Now let's get to some quick DBD news because it's kind of going to be a chunky episode. But
Yes.
we may have be getting some legacy adjacent skins.
Ooh.
Behavior
That's the
kind of
clickbait version.
Yeah, so these are kind of like
Mhm.
so these if you haven't seen around, they've been going around that some legacy types cosmetics have been going around in the store, primarily for Trapper and Dwight. However, these aren't the orange yellowish glow; these are more reddish blood colored.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so these were kind of published early. There was an accident, and today they actually said these are not prestige cosmetics, which some people thought they might be. These are just related to the anniversary event or anniversary extravaganza. Blah, blah, blah. That's going to be happening in the next coming weeks.
Extravaganza.
Thoughts? Extravaganza. Yes, I couldn't get the word out.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
No, I feel
what
that.
do we
I
think
feel
about
that.
this, Maddie? I'll jump to you first.
This is good. I see so many people who have the old prestige, which is not a lot of people, but I do see some people say, like, hey, it shouldn't be that exclusive. And I feel like this is a good compromise because it rewards the people who were there at the beginning, but it also gives the people who missed out, who really want a cosmetic, a very close replication, but it's not the exact same. Now, I do think it should stay Trapper and Dwight, and maybe make it so, oh, hey, you log in during the month of the year to anniversary, you get it, and then you can't get it again. That would be awesome. And then they could do it for 15 and then 20 for different characters. I think that would be awesome. Very simple. And yeah, no more thoughts. That's it. Day 8.
I totally hear that.
Mhm.
There's something to be said about like, oh, they should just drop more, but like, yeah, save that for next year, right? Like, if this is a
Exactly.
zodiac sign, like this is the yearly free skin that they're gonna cobble together. I mean, I hope they drop more stuff like shirts for people. Definitely
Or maybe,
keep
like,
working on
crowns again.
skins. I think this is what they're doing to replace crowns because
Yeah.
crowns were probably a little too much work, and then you have to implement like crowns for each character. And does
And
everyone
there's
get crowns?
two different variations of crowns
Yes.
as well.
Which you can still get. I mean, I think those codes are still live, and especially during the anniversary, they better be
I
live.
think so. Mhm.
Yeah.
So you all think these are the only two characters, Dwight and Trapper, who are getting these cosmetics? We
For
don't
now,
think anyone else
for
is.
now.
I think so. I think they're going to do like once fire, one killer a year from now on.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. My guess would be the original 4 survivors and the first 3 killers get them.
Mm-hmm.
I
Because
get
that's
that.
what they launched with.
I get that.
Yeah.
Just because just coming out with 2 cosmetics for Dwight and Trapper is odd, you know.
Well, it would
but
be like
I
part
don't
of
know.
it. It would just be like one
Yeah.
little of the year 10. It's
True,
not like the
true.
thing.
Yeah,
would be
make-
really
and
funny,
make no
though, if that was
mistake,
the
this will not be like a prestige reward. This won't be like your
Yeah.
favorite characters are getting legacy prestige skins. They're
my God.
probably done adding prestige rewards, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, sadly. I mean, at least there's something, even if it's kind of long before you get like a badge and then a better badge and then best badge and then the best badge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's kind of just At least we have something, and I like the badges. I'm on my way to Prestige 75 for Springtrap. I will get it. It will be
Nice.
mine. You are mine. Sorry.
Well, we have a blood hunt weekend or something coming up.
Blood
soon,
hunt.
so-
XP
Truly,
weekend
truly.
and
Yeah.
a blood hunt.
Yeah.
Look
so
for
you-
that right before the anniversary stuff. And
Also,
that Trapper
realization.
and Dwight skin, they're going to be anniversary stuff. And
Yeah,
I think it's kind
realization.
of a less themed anniversary we have coming up. If we've kind of had the Twisted Masquerade before, I think this one's probably a new theme that they're going to try once or twice. Same idea.
Yeah.
I kind
I
of
don't
hope
really
this
have
is
an idea
a
of
one
what
and
the
done
theme is
theme
gonna be.
Do you think so?
because
I think it is.
because it's 10 years. I think this
Yeah.
will be like we're gonna have a. I don't know though. I don't know.
What
There
do I
has
say?
been leaks already about like names of it and what
Mm,
what's gonna be just like the title of it.
yeah.
but-
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to wait a month to see it. We'll have to wait a month.
You'll find them.
Well, less than a month. The community stream is in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Or a week from now. Soon. So, and that's probably when they're gonna reveal. Is my guess. But
Keep your ear to
because
the
BTB
ground.
is after that.
It's
Yes.
out there.
Mhm.
And then there's the live stream for the anniversary in June 14th, 15th. Blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
June 14th. That's the official one, I guess. Official.
Yes.
Moving on to really quickly, Slasher
That
Radio.
anniversary chapter. Yeah, the talk about
Yeah.
this.
Slasher Radio is a popular horror podcaster who's interviewed many icons in horror, including Matthew Cote. During a Twitch stream recently, was saying that the new chapter, the 10-year anniversary, is not Jason, but says players will be happy though that he was under NDA about this chapter. But then he later backpedaled and said Jason not being the chapter 10 was his opinion and has been for 6 months. And he's based on that on just Jason Universe not saying anything. Also, Jason Universe earlier this week, maybe it was last, revealed every collab they're collabing with, all the toys and such, Fortnite, Call of Duty, etc. They announced all that earlier this week. And there's like a Paramount or a Peacock show that's coming out later this year.
Camp Crystal
They announced
Lake.
all that, which just because they announced all of their collabs and DVD was not one of them means nothing. Like we've seen that before. Like, Alien Days come around and nothing was announced for DVD then. So what do we think about this? Do we still think it's Jason? Do we?
God, no.
No, really?
I hadn't thought it was Jason. I thought everyone saying it was Jason was a joke, and then everyone got on the bandwagon of it was, and then
I'm on the bandwagon. I'm pulling the bandwagon.
Sure, go for it.
Honestly, I was pretty fairly like, oh, it's gonna be Jason. But with this news, because if you saw how he was writing in the Twitch chat, he was like, I know a little bit, zip mouth emoji. I feel like he definitely said too much. Maybe he was like a little drunk, maybe he was just really excited and he let too much spill. But I think since because he talks to the DBD team and his team talks to the DBD team so often, I do think that was a bit of a slip up and does reveal it's not going to be Jason, which would also explain why they were revealing the actual contents of the chapter and having that PTB before the anniversary live stream to lessen the blow while also giving space for new content. Because before I said, oh, they want to reveal it because they want to not put all the emphasis on Jason and then have some space for the new stuff. Now it makes more sense. I was, oh, this is the new stuff, but we can kind of get this hurt out of the way since everyone kind of made this expectation, which if you remember when Pinhead was getting teased like a few years back, everyone thought it was Springtrap for some reason. Like it was like 50-50. Like half the people thought it was Springtrap, ever thought it was Pinhead. And they basically had to do a very obvious teaser with the TV, the flowers. If you saw the first movie, that's obviously Pinhead. But people were like, oh, 87, FNAF. And then people got upset when it wasn't FNAF. So, yeah, I definitely feel like they're trying to not have that situation. So we're definitely going to be seeing not Jason, is my guess. And that's why we're having the PTB. And
good way of looking at it. I like that theory a lot.
Yeah. Question,
as
though, for you
unfortunate
two.
as it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Who do you think it's going to be with the idea that people will be happy? I think it's Predator or Darth Vader. I feel like it has to be one of those two.
I am like, we've had this discussion about Darth Vader. We've had this discussion on Star Wars. If you haven't listened to it, go to episode 5, I think it is, or 4. It's very early. I think it would be a disservice if the Horror Hall of Fame and their 10-year anniversary is Darth Vader. That would be disappointing. It's exciting, but I would want a horror icon, in my opinion. And I think the 3 that fit that are classics are Pennywise from it. I think Predator is one, although not directly horror, but very much an icon. And I think Jason Voorhees. I don't think of any others. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I totally
I'm
get
apologizing.
that.
You're right.
I get that. It to me, I think hinges on a couple factors that like it's gonna go back to form of slashers when I don't think the slashers have gotten much love. So I think they're gonna look somewhere else for like their next few licenses. And B, I mean, it's typically been a license for anniversaries. So I'm inclined to also believe, it's guaranteed to be a license. Best bet. However, I think something like a Predator chapter is likely to come with like a Alien 2 chapter. You know what I mean? Like you get an AVP chapter, or that way they can bundle in a lot more content. And I think a Pennywise thing has not been like close to reasonably
Unfortunately.
there.
Yeah.
It's tough because I just want to rule everything out until I'm left with like nothing. And then when I'm left with nothing, I just kind of have to look at what's currently in the game. And
Mhm.
I feel like it'll be like a Darkest Dungeon killer.
Yeah.
You know what
Oh,
I mean?
oh.
You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
I think I'm going to be
Sure.
surprised by the obvious. And I think
Yeah.
I'm going to bet on that.
Yeah.
Maddie,
for it.
you asked us the question. Why are you
You
raising
don't
your
have to
hand?
raise your hand.
Something else I remember that I've been seeing online that I think would be pretty possible is that this is a sequel chapter specifically for Silent Hill. Because we're going to mention leaks. If you don't want to hear leaks, you might want to look away, stop listening for like the next 2 minutes. But according to leaks, there's a new map and new realm, and it's called Liminal. Additionally, the Lights Out game mode got leaked a bit, and there's going to be like lanterns and stuff. And people are like, hey, this is kind of reminding us of Silent Hill F, and they've done two sequel chapters recently. What's to say they're not going to do another Silent Hill?
Silent Hill
especially
F is a good theory.
Especially since Silent Hill F didn't get that much attention, I think. Like, it was still
Yeah.
pretty popular, a great entry into the franchise, but it didn't get a lot of numbers
I mean-
just because of, like, general economy being very high priced,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So maybe this could be a way to introduce that, especially since there's so many unique characters that could be killers and the very obvious survivor. Which I believe her name is Hinako? I can't remember.
I think
her
it's
name. I'm so
Hinako,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Silent Hill F, actually, they just announced a sale milestone recently of like it sold over 7 million or something by now.
Yeah.
Which is
cute.
cool. I'm so down for a Silent Hill sequel chapter.
Mm-hmm.
I think two mistakes for Anniversary, with it being a sequel chapter and it
Mhm.
being an original chapter.
Mhm.
One sequel chapter, I think it's got to be a new license. I think it's your 10. It's got to be a big bang. And for original, I'm sorry, but original's just not going to be the big bang you want it to be for
Yeah.
10
Right,
years. But I mean that's a great guess. And Lights
Mhm.
Out coming back, woo, I guess. Like I don't think they can do anything to make that mode that modifier, I should say, any more enjoyable than what it has been. But I'd like to be proven wrong, but we'll see, I guess.
I would love to see them do something new with one of the modes that they've already tried.
Yeah, My Little Oni 2, Electric Boogaloo. Now you play as the spirit.
You
God.
should play as an Attack on Titan. Titan is what you should do.
Oh,
I don't
good
want any
point.
survivors getting a view up my skirt defaultly.
Oh, that's fair.
Oh,
That's
God.
fair. That's fair. Okay, well, that's the bit about the DVD news. We'll know about the anniversary chapter in a few weeks.
Yes.
Now, on to the topic of the show, Alan Wake. So, a little bit of scope for this episode before we dive into the meat. This episode will be essentially part 1. We'll do part 2 at a later time. We don't have it's scheduled. It would just be whenever we feel like it. And that will cover Alan Wake 2 and Alan Wake's American Nightmare. That is a spinoff, and Alan Wake 2 is a proper sequel. This episode will focus on the first game, its story DLC, and the tome, the Alan Wake tome, which is in the game, which was Revision. That was tome 18.
Yes.
So this will not cover Alan Wake's American Nightmare. It will not cover the AWE DLC for Control, which if you did not know, Control and Alan Wake are in the same universe. They are in the Remedy game universe, or the Remedy
You
verse.
better say
People
cinematic.
call it. Yeah, I almost said cinematic. They're not movies.
They're
But they're in the same
from the
universe.
mind of Sam Lake. We'll say
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And that
the
man
same
is
guy who did Max
to be
Payne and
protected
whose
at
face
all
is
costs.
Max Payne, and yeah,
Mhm.
keep that man alive.
Little fun fact for you: Matthew Peretta voices Alan Wake, which will actually hear him narrate the tomes. He narrates Alan in game, and he narrates all of his tomes, which are really fucking good, which we'll listen to later. But the character is not modeled after Matthew Peretta. It's actually modeled after Ilka Ville, a Finnish actor. So 2 different actors here playing this character, and this is not uncommon in Remedy games.
But they're both
So-
gorgeous men, so it's
Oh,
easy
yes.
to
Yes.
it's,
Both
it's
of
very
them are
great to
wonderful.
have them together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it should also be clearly stated, this is spoilers for Alan Wake. the first game, and the story DLCs. We will not spoil Alan Wake 2. We will not spoil Control, although there will be some Control stuff in here, mostly terminology from Control, because I think it's really important to look from that perspective, because I think it gives a better understanding of the events of Alan Wake. Just to give a little
Big
preface.
big time.
Yeah, and then I've already given the caveat: Alan Wake and Control are in the same universe. We'll kind of get to that. Before we're going to go through the events of the first game, I will read out a longer summary. But first, I want to give you the too long didn't listen version first. I will give that to you at the top, and then I will give it to you at the end as well. So you have kind of you can reframe accordingly.
See what wraps together.
The first game, and even a more additional context, the first game, Alan Wake, released May 18th in 2010. It was an Xbox 360 exclusive, gained a pretty big cult following, and then sometime later, I don't know how many years later, it was remastered and released to all platforms. So, I mean, I think it was maybe a few years ago before Alan Wake 2 released.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Let me give you the too long didn't read or listen version. So Alan Wake is a famous writer, and he travels to Bright Falls with his wife Alice, who Alice gets taken by an entity known as the Dark Presence. The Dark Presence is using Alan to write a story that helps it escape the Dark Place, which is another dimension. Alan uses a magic clicker to fight back against the Dark Presence and switches places with Alice. So Alice escapes the Dark Place and Alan is trapped inside. So Alice escapes and Alan is left in the Dark Place. That is where we're left off at the end of Alan Wake. Too long, didn't listen version. Any questions before we get started, Maddie or Stevie?
The Champion of Light song is running through my head. I know that's not a question, but
oh my god,
that song explains everything.
If you're listening, pause right now or watching and go over to YouTube and watch Champion of Light. It's so good.
If you haven't played Alan Wake 2 and you intend to play Alan Wake 2,
yeah, that's
don't
fair.
know what we're talking about, disregard that.
Girl, I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, play Alan Wake 2 Maddie.
You have any questions, Maddie?
How does Alan do that? How does he just...
We will get into that. We actually have an FAQ section
with
at the
magic
end
clicker.
of the synopsis.
Oh,
I have an FAQ section. So if you have questions at the end that are likely mostly everyone is going to have, we'll go through those. And that's where a lot of the Control terminology is going to come from, because that does a lot of like definitions and labels that will be helpful for outsiders.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to run through several of these bullet points. I will pause occasionally to check in with everybody, maybe have a little temp check, and then we'll go in and we'll continue. Okay. So here we go. Okay. So starting off, Alan and his wife Alice travel to Bright Falls to take a break from New York City and to alleviate Alan's writing block. He's been having a hard time writing anything. So they're traveling to Bright Falls, which is a small town in the Pacific Northwest, specifically Washington. Alan is a best-selling crime author known for his Alex Casey books, which are very popular. They're staying in a cabin near Cauldron Lake. That night they get into a fight because Alice brought a typewriter in hopes Alan would break his writer's block. Alan gets upset at this because he really just wanted a break from writing altogether and storms off. While outside of the cabin, Alice is abducted inside by the Dark Presence, who is disguised as an old woman in black. Alan sees that she's pulled into the lake and he jumps in after her. Okay. Alan wakes in a car accident.
Alan Wake.
Get it? Alan wakes. Alan wakes up in a car accident a week later. So he has lost a week. He doesn't remember what happened over the last week. So he wakes up in a car crash. When he starts searching for help, he discovers a manuscript from Departure. That's quote Departure title, which was Alan's planned next novel. It also details how he's going to be attacked by an axe murderer in the woods, which he soon stumbles upon. This axe murderer is known as Taken. Taken are the primary antagonist of the Alan Wake series. They're the main enemies you fight. They have like these dark wisps around them and they're shadowy. These are essentially people who have been possessed. However, they could be animals or objects as well. So for example, birds wolves. It could be a tractor. Yes, I said a tractor. It could be a
Ew.
tornado. All
Oh,
sorts of things.
terrifying.
Okay, yeah. So they can it can possess all sorts of things. So people are taken, they're possessed, and they sometimes say terms that are part of their past lives, which can come off as comical sometimes. So, for example, like if you're like fighting a bunch of taken that were police officers, they might be like, "Put your hands up" or something like really weird. It's like garbled and stuff. It's kind of silly and cute sometimes, but they have some really good ones in Alan Wake too, with like the Coffee World segments and some other areas. But it's really cool. Taken are a cool enemy. Oh, by the way, to kill Taken, you have to first blind them with flashlight so that you can materialize them, and then you can shoot them up with bullets and all that sort of stuff. So light is their weakness. Again, the dark presence is very much accustomed to the dark, and so you have to use the light to fight it off. That's where flashlights come in with Alan Wake. Okay, a couple more bullet points, and then we'll take a little pit stop. So soon after experiencing the axe murder, Alan gets help from Sarah Breaker, the town sheriff. He tells her about his missing wife and where they were staying, but Sarah tells him there hasn't been a cabin in Cauldron Lake for years. There was a cabin back in the 70s. It was lost in a volcanic eruption. By the way, Cauldron Lake isn't a caldera. So a caldera is an old volcano, and a lake has filled in on the top of the volcano. Just for anyone who doesn't know what that is about their geography or geology. Is that what geology is? Anyway,
that's geography.
Both. I mean,
yeah, I think both.
Yeah.
So it's a lake inside of a volcano, which is cool. And then there's a forest that surrounds it. So Sarah tells Alan that there hasn't been a lake on Cauldron Lake there hasn't been a cabin on Cauldron Lake for years. They drive out to the lake, and of course, there is no cabin there. It's completely gone. The following day, Alan gets a phone call from Rose Marigold, which you may know from her cosmetic in game. Here she is.
She's
Rose Marigold. She is very pretty, and the voice actress does an amazing job. She's got a great cosmetic, great voice lines. She's a big fan of Alan's, like a huge fan of Alan's, and she's a waitress at the Oh Deer Diner. Okay, deer as in DER as in the animal. She tells him over the phone she has a manuscript of his. However, we see that she's being manipulated by the woman in black that took Alan's wife. She tells him, "You need to come to my trailer park to pick it up." Him and Barry Wheeler, which is his literary agent, who, by the way, behavior, we need a Barry Wheeler legendary, like ASAP. First of all, just look up this guy. He is a character. He's very much comedic relief.
Punching it in.
Oh my God. Hilarious guy. He's also got, he's got his red jacket, but later on in the Alan Wake game, the first game, he's not in the second game, unfortunately. He doesn't die. He's just not in the game. Just caveat that. He's got like Christmas lights all over him eventually in the first game. And it would just be such a good cosmetic to have. But
that's weird. Yeah, he does. Just covered in lights.
But Barry Wheeler travels to Bright Falls because he hadn't heard from Alan in over a week, and so he's there. He shows up at the sheriff's station, wondering what's up, and then Alan gets this phone call from Rose, and they go over to her trailer park. So I'll do a couple more points, and then we'll take a little break. So Alan and Barry go to the trailer park. They have some coffee from Rose, which is actually spiked and knocks them out. They wake up later that night and are confronted by an FBI agent known as Nightingale. Agent Nightingale. Alan runs from Nightingale, and he's pursued by the agent's police, but he eventually gets away. We'll stop there. That's a good stopping point. That's about halfway through this game's plot. Maddie, any questions? Are you confused? I'm sure there's a lot going on. Essentially,
Alan Wake 1.
Yeah, for Alan Wake 1.
I'm assuming you're fighting like the evil shadow monsters between these scenes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
So these are just big plot points. Yeah, gameplay-wise, you're fighting off. And there's different variants. Like I said, you could have a flock of birds coming at you. It could be a wall of objects that you have to fill with light. And there's all sorts of ways to dispatch them. Like you get flares, you get little kerosene canisters you can explode, flash grenades, all sorts of stuff.
So does it like alternate between day and night? Is that kind of
So
the vibe?
some parts of the game you're playing during the day. Those games are pretty gameplay have lesser gameplay, right? Like you're mainly just exploring, collecting things, and then at night the game the taking come out and you're fighting primarily.
Okay. All right. I think I'm following along. Following along pretty well.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Anything from you, Stevie?
I think like the scene that I had, like the setting I have in my mind from like what I've seen, it's like just Pacific Northwest, lots
Yeah.
of rainy, lots of pine trees.
I'm thinking Twin Peaks.
Yes. you
Yeah,
should be.
very Twin
You
Peaks
should be.
inspired. Mhm.
You should be.
Yes.
Yeah, and Alan being the rugged like writer guy who's trying to find his wife. My wife's gone. Where is she?
Mhm.
And he's
Also
what,
some
got
Silent Hill inspired.
gun and flashlight in hand.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, lots of different weapons he's switching between. The pistol's the big one.
He doesn't have like psychic powers at all. He doesn't have anything like that.
Nope,
He's just a
Just
regular
a flashlight and a gun.
Joe Schmo.
Mhm. Yeah, and you're going through a lot of different environments. So, for example, sometimes you're in streets, sometimes you're in a trailer park, sometimes you're in the forest, sometimes you're in a state forest where there's maybe bridges and gazebos and stuff. So, and then eventually you get down into like a, which we'll get into very shortly, a lodge where there are cabins and such. So, and there's also vehicle segments as well, which I should mention, where you're getting into a vehicle and you're driving kind of large areas. They're not open world. There's nothing to do in these areas other than kill enemies and collect resources, but and maybe manuscript pages, which are collectible. But they're really kind of fun, like driving segments where you can run over Taken, which is cool.
To the supernatural parts. Is there anything more up until this halfway point about like his wife, or is it just she's gone? Nobody believes that there was even a cabin. They don't even know they were there. Nobody can help him. He's just kind of
So the first half of this game is a lot of him really trying to get his bearings. He's working with Barry to figure that out. So him and Barry are kind of inseparable at from when they meet up after that week stint, and him getting to the sheriff's department. And then from there, it's like, well, what the fuck do I do next? Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
There's no cabin on the lake. No one knows about my wife other than me here. But we're going to actually get into more details about his wife in the next couple points, which will start to kind of materialize and how kind of what more of the plot details. So the first half is like really like figuring out what the fuck's happening. The second half is like, okay, things are starting to fall in place here, and we're kind of seeing where the plot forms.
Right. My other
because like you have this
too, I
whole
have
section.
pinned,
Yeah,
like,
because
about
like you
that.
have this whole section where him and Barry go. Rose calls them to the trailer park, and they get knocked out, and then it's night again. Like it's kind of a weird section. Like the game is not perfect. The gameplay is also not aged well, I will admit. So honestly, if I would suggest anything, just skip the first Alan Wake game and go to Alan Wake 2. You do not need to have played the first game. Alan Wake 2 orients you really well through a new character. You will play as Alan, but you also play as another character, Saga, who's a legendary in Cosmic.
I know her.
But you do not need to play the first game, and I would recommend just skipping it. Unless you really like Alan Wake 2 and you want more Alan Wake, go play the first one. But the gameplay has not aged well, in my opinion. That's my opinion. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, so you don't like miss anything in Alan Wake 2 if you haven't played Alan Wake 1.
Yes,
For real, big time.
It will educate you on everything you need to know.
Yeah, so it'll tell you about Barry and then all of this stuff that's happened.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Barry's not mentioned. There's a lot of Barry erasure, I would argue, which is unfortunate. I don't know why they decided to do that, because Barry's not in the game. And again, he doesn't die. Barry is very much alive. I think there's
Maybe
a little like,
him.
Yeah, maybe, or they just didn't want to do anything with the character. But Alan Wake 2 has a much more serious tone than the first game, so maybe that's why. I don't know.
Yeah.
Barry didn't cut it.
Sorry, Barry. You've been.
But we need a legendary, please. Okay, let's get back into this. Let me find my bullet point. Oh, okay. So where we left off, Alan has been pursued by Nightingale, the FBI agent, and so he gets away from Nightingale. And so afterward, Alan is called by seemingly Alice's kidnapper, who tells him to meet at a place called Mears Peak, which is near a state park. Once they meet, Alan learns Alice is not there, nor kidnapped. The kidnapper kind of lied, and they're both attacked by a giant tornado from the Dark Presence.
Okay.
So Dark Presence creates a it's a little bizarre. But the seemingly kidnapper is killed, and Alan is sent off the viewing point there where Mere Point is, because it's like a cliff area.
Yeah.
He's sent off. He lights a flare that saves him, that prevents the Dark Presence from taking him, but he falls into the lake. And in the lake is Dr. Hartman with a boat to save him. But Hartman is the one who hired the kidnapper to call Alan. So Hartman is the one who lured Alan there. We'll get
very,
into more
very
Hartman
contrived. I love this.
in a second.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Ooh, I was going to ask who the hell is Hartman?
We'll get into Hartman in a second. Yeah. So after falling into the lake and being saved, Alan then wakes up in Cauldron Lake Lodge, which is a mental institute run by Dr. Hartman, who tries to convince Alan that his wife is dead and then is hallucinating all of these events. So the Dark Presence, the Taken, what happened to his wife in the cabin, all this has been a hallucination. And, Alan, you're crazy. Like this is what's happening. But Alan doesn't believe that shit. We actually eventually learn that Hartman was taking advantage of artists. So in this kind of asylum or this mental institute, I don't want to call it asylum. That sounds bad. A mental institute or hospital, or whatever you call it, this lodge. He's got a bunch of artists. So some of them are writers, some of them are painters, some of them make video games, some of them make music. All of them are artists. So he's preying on these artists for a reason, which we will get to later. I would just want to drop that there. That's important. We'll get to that later. So Alan and Barry eventually escape the lodge and his goons. The Dark Presence takes over the lodge. It kind of like it kind of embeds itself into the lodge, where Dr. Hartman is eventually trapped and he can't get away, although Hartman does not die. More on Hartman in part 2. More on Dr. Hartman in part 2 of this episode. He kind of goes into like control areas. We won't get into that here. But Hartman lives, and he eventually has his own little thread. While leaving the lodge, Alan explains to Barry that the lake is the source of the Dark Presence. So the Dark Presence came from Cauldron Lake, and it's using his manuscripts that he's written, that he's been finding along his journey. Go ahead.
I'm assuming he learns this between...
Yes, he kind of learns this between this and now. He kind of starts putting it together. It's very much like, a lot of discussions between Hartman and a lot of just kind of like mentally putting pieces together himself. So while leaving, he's telling this to Barry, and also just kind of for the player to learn this, but
to understand.
The Dark Presence is using manuscripts to escape the lake and take over Bright Falls. So Alan's manuscripts become reality. So what he types out becomes reality. The car crash, the man in the axe, that the first manuscript, he's the man with the axe at the beginning, that all comes true. And he keeps discovering these manuscripts throughout the game. I just haven't brought this up. They're collectibles, but there's also ones that you just constantly pick up because they're part of the story. What's written on there is what's happening in the game. Just FYI.
However, he has no knowledge that he wrote this. He doesn't feel like he wrote it. He's discovering it after the fact that it happened to prove that it had already happened. So there's no way for him to prevent the future. He only knows that he writes it down before, after.
We'll get into that too.
Yeah.
So the Dark Presence is using his manuscripts to escape the lake,
place?
which is the source of the dark place, or a threshold, if you will. More on that later. And so it wants to escape so it can kind of spread its influence to Bright Falls and beyond. This thing also happened. These series of events also happened to Thomas Zane, an artist back in the 70s of this game. So this also happened, and he learned that Thomas Zane had to write himself out of the story to save the town. More on Zane a little bit later, okay?
Okay, so Zane is important. Remember that.
Mhm. So soon after, Alan receives information about a magic clicker that can help defeat the dark presence, which is protected. The clicker is protected by a woman known as Cynthia Weaver. Cynthia is obsessed with light, and she insists that Bright Falls has as much of as possible. You go to her little fact. She lives at a power facility, like an electric facility, and she's just got lights hanging up everywhere. Okay, so she is very much obsessed. She's always got a lantern with her. She's obsessed with light, so she has something to do with this clicker. She directs you to this clicker in a specific room, and Alan retrieves it and heads back to Cauldron Lake. So he has the magic clicker. By the way, more on the magic clicker in a bit, because I know a lot of people are like, why is it magic?
Yeah.
We'll get into that. Maddie's like, right.
Right. Magic
And
clicker.
and
Right.
a clicker, like when
Like a
I
light
think
switch.
of like a light
Okay.
switch, but like
Mhm.
like
I
a
need to-
remote, like but
Okay, I
Yeah,
was
so it's
gonna
not
ask.
it's not quite, so it
Yes.
actually has, it looks like it is like an old-timey light switch where it's on your wall and the wires would be on the wall instead of inside. And so both ends have pieces of wire that are cut off, and in the center is just a switch. That's it.
Okay, I was gonna ask what the heck a clicker was. I was so confused. I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, clicker.
Yeah. So
Whatever
not like a
that
PowerPoint
is.
clicker, like you would be giving a PowerPoint
that's
at
what
a
I had imagined.
symposium, but more like a light switch that would be on the wall. And the old, were back in the old days where wires ran on top of the walls. It's that where someone just like cut off the wires on both ends, and they ripped off the switch
Okay.
off the floor or off the
All right, he has the
wall.
magic clicker. Yes, the magic clicker.
Yeah,
yes.
magic clicker.
Achieved.
More on why it's magic in a bit. So Alan retrieves this clicker and he goes back to Cauldron Lake. Well, to get into Cauldron Lake, or to the dark place, which we'll get into, you jump in. So he jumps in and he enters the dark place. The dark place is a alternate dimension where the dark presence comes from. We will detail more of this later. Again, a lot of this will be cleared up in the FAQ section. Just FYI.
Yes.
Because the game does not explain any of this. FYI. It just does not go into detail about any of this. We get a lot of this based on interpretation and just things they release later on. So it's really not clear up front, but it really takes a lot of thinking and literally like diving into this stuff. So he jumps in, and while in the dark place, he starts exploring it. There he discovers a doppelganger of his own. So someone who has his face, who is known as Mr. Scratch.
I know this guy. I've heard of him
Yep,
before.
you've heard Mr. Scratch.
Yeah.
He also discovers Thomas Zane in a deep sea diving outfit.
Okay.
He's kind of floating about, Thomas Zane is trying to direct Alan. Thomas Zane had to write himself out of his own story so he could save Bright Falls, so he could keep the dark presence in the dark place. So Thomas Zane is still in the dark place. He has not escaped. He's been there since the 70s. Have that in mind. Why
Has he
he is
aged?
in... do you want me to answer that?
Is it?
I'm gonna just.
That's
I'll
a
just say
spoiler?
no. He
Okay.
hasn't aged. Thomas Zane is in Alan Wake 2. He plays a big part in Alan Wake 2. I won't go into any more details there. But Thomas
Okay.
Zane. But why he is in a deep sea diving suit isn't explained. It's just kind of the vibe that they went with. It's more. I think it's more or less to say, kind of like you're diving into the dark place. This is kind of how he's represented to
Or
Alan.
if the dark place is like that forbidden knowledge, and to represent this guy having gone through it before Alan, he is in the diving suit to represent he knows how to protect himself from it. He has the knowledge that,
And also,
that
Alan
ultimately
dived
we
in
want.
like without a diving suit. He was prepared.
But with a
Mhm.
clicker.
Thomas Zane had the diving suit.
with a clicker.
If the
Alright.
if the diving suit
clicker,
protects
with
the
the magic
darkness
clicker.
from coming out, right? You'd want to bring the light into the darkness
Mm-hmm.
to shoo it all away.
Yeah,
So let's see how that
right.
goes for Alan.
Mm-hmm.
So Thomas Zane is there. No, you're good. Instructing him to find the cabin. Find the cabin that him and Alice were staying in when they first got there. He eventually finds the cabin. And inside, he is faced with the woman in black. It turns out this woman in black is the dark presence, but it is wearing what is a woman known as Barbara Jagger. It is her face. And she was she drowned or died in the lake many, many years ago, and it's essentially just wearing her as a skin, like she is a vessel
Oh,
for it. And
R.I.P..
so to defeat this vessel, Alan thrusts the clicker into her chest and fills her with light, and and she dies.
Oh,
Um,
damn.
After that,
she's
Alan,
freed.
yeah, so that vessel is destroyed. The Dark Presence is not destroyed, just FYI. Alan then sits at the typewriter because they're in the cabin. The typewriter is still there that Alice brought him, that he
Yeah.
stormed off and got mad about. He sits there and starts writing the end of Departure. Again, this is the manuscript pages he's been getting and receiving throughout the game, and something he was going to work on. So he's starting to work on the ending. And he does the same thing that Stain does. He doesn't write himself out of the story, but he learns that he can't have a happy ending because it's a horror story. There has to be balance. You know, the scales have to balance, if you will.
Yeah.
So for Alice to escape, Alan takes her place. And so Alice is ejected from the lake at the same time she went missing. So that week has been reverted. So week has not passed.
Undone.
Yeah. So the
Okay.
same day they got there, she emerges that same day. Alan is still in the dark place, and he stays there at the end of the game. He just left there.
Yeah.
We get an after credit scene where Bright Falls, the small town where this all takes place, is having their annual Deer Fest. And
what's a Deer Fest?
Deer Fest is just it's like a festival, and it's deer themed. Deer's in the
Have
animal.
you never celebrated
very
the
straightforward.
deer?
Very
Have you never
straightforward.
celebrated the
Yeah.
deer in your life?
Yeah. So lots of
No.
Deer Fest. Yeah, it's kind of, they're just like,
Have you ever
their
seen a deer?
mascot is a deer?
I
and-
have seen deer.
Well,
I have.
and you know why you should celebrate them then. They're pretty
Yeah.
fucking cute.
Yeah.
They're cute.
Yeah, they're really cute.
So we get an after credit scene after the credits roll. We get a shot of Rose again, Rose Marigold, the waitress from Oh Dear Diner. And she appears to be being manipulated by the Dark Presence again. However, this time it's wearing the face of Nightingale, Agent Nightingale, who
I'm
was
geeking. So is it Rosa pretending to be Agent Nightingale, or is it like Rosa with the actual face of Nightingale?
no. So Rose is
God.
never actually possessed by the Dark Presence. She's only like manipulated, like told what to do.
Yeah.
And so essentially the Dark Presence moves its vessel from Barbara Jagger, who was the woman in black, to Nightingale because it needs a new vessel. So it has taken over Nightingale's body, and so it is just using Nightingale's body to traverse the world essentially, because that presence is a bit over Bright Falls, but it can't get past Bright Falls because it's locked in the dark place. And so Rose is never becomes taken. She's in Alan Wake 2. So that's essentially where I put it there. She's just being manipulated and told what to do, kind of like a Jedi mind trick, if you will.
Oh, okay. I get it now. I get it.
Mhm. And so wearing the face of Agent Nightingale, so he is dead. You know, he died when they were attacked by during the pursuit of Alan. They get attacked
And
by
the tornado.
the
Yes.
tornado, and it consumes him. So
Yes.
and then the final scene is Alan on his typewriter saying the very famous line. Maybe you've heard this around as a joke. It's not a lake, it's an ocean.
Mhm.
And that is the end of Alan Wake. I'll do the too long didn't listen, too long didn't read again. Maybe this will make it more clear. Alan
Okay.
Wake is a famous writer. He goes to Bright Falls with his wife Alice, who gets taken by an entity known as the Dark Presence. The Dark Presence is from the Dark Place, which is in Cauldron Lake, and is using Alan to write a story to help the Dark Presence escape. It wants to spread its influence past Bright Falls. Alan uses a magic clicker and the help of and kind of some knowledge of being able to write reality to fight back, and uses the clicker to defeat the Dark Presence and switches places with Alice. So Alice escapes. Alan is in the dark place, stuck there, and that is the end of the first Alan Wake game. There is some story DLC. I will just say very quickly, the story DLC does not add much narratively to this, although it essentially just Alan is now kind of in the dark place and he's exploring it and he's learning to flex his abilities in the dark place essentially. And so he learns more about Mr. Scratch, which is explored more in American Nightmare and Alan Wake 2. And again, Mr. Scratch is his evil doppelganger. That's all the story DLC covers.
Yeah.
Like
So,
it'll
Maddie-
raise more questions than
Yeah.
yeah.
Before we get to Maddie, Stevie, let me get your thoughts. Because I
Oh
know you're an
my
Alan Wake
goodness.
fan. What
I
do you think of the
mean-
first game? And yeah,
I love it because it just to me feels like, oh, it was like the mid 2000s. It was like 2010, and we're gonna make a game. Let's fucking throw all of our sci-fi fantasy writing favorites in. It's got like a little hint of Donnie Darko. It's got like a little hint of Twin Peaks. It's got like a hint
Silent
of all.
Hill.
Yes.
Stephen
Oh,
King.
yeah.
All that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're so right. So it's just everything. It's just kind of like we love telling stories. So let's tell a story about how cool stories can be. And it's for nerds and it's lovely.
Absolutely. It's very complicated plot narrative as well.
Plot-wise,
especially for
yes.
2010, right? Like where video
Yeah.
games were pretty straightforward narratively. Like it wouldn't be for a few years that we got more complex story-driven games, I'd argue. So it's very, I think, ahead of its time in a lot of ways.
Yeah, 100%.
Maddie, your thoughts?
Honestly, story alone, it sounds really interesting as a concept, and given the time and their limitations on the Xbox, I think from what you said at least, they did a pretty good job on telling that story because you could have very easily lost the plot. Like to bring up one of my faves, Five Nights at Freddy's.
FNAF
love
at
the game.
Freddy's.
FNAF
FNAF at Freddy's.
They lost the plot in the second game.
Oh yeah.
That was so crazy. And the gameplay was literally sitting down watching cameras. Alan Wake, it's semi-open world. You have these collectibles that if you can miss, you might be losing some lore. And there's all this weird concepts like the dark presence, the dark place. Why can people just write things when it comes to reality? Like there's all this bullshit. But from so far, and taking a quick sneak peek into the show notes, it starts to make a bit of sense. Though I will say, as someone who's only read the tome lore and still didn't really get it, I'm kind of surprised that the dark presence and the entity weren't the same thing because they're very similar. They're really similar, and given what they do in the tome, I'm not surprised what they did with the dark presence and the entity, and it's just really interesting. And I feel like Alan Wake as a franchise, I've never played the games. I haven't even played Control, even though I own it. It's very interesting.
Play it.
And
Play Control.
I will play it. I will play it. And I think they did a pretty good job at communicating it. If I had to give one grievance, the dark presence kind of feels like a generic evil entity. I feel like there could have been a bit more personalization on it, which I don't know if they do in Alan Wake 2 or Control. But the darkness is so overplayed, I think, in horror. I feel like there's so many cool things you could do that, especially since it's kind of like ocean themed a bit with the giant lake and there's the ocean. They could have made it more like Cthulhu-esque or made it more like sea based. I don't know if they do that in Alan Wake 2 or Control, but I feel like my only criticism of the story is that their dark presence is a bit too generic evil.
Yeah.
I get you.
I totally get that criticism. I think at the time, yes, 2010, that is totally valid. However, I think today, people I sometimes today, I think I hope for more, like some things get too like complicated or people make it too hard to make it unique. Whereas this today, the dark presence feels kind of unique in that it's kind of bare bones. Like, okay, it's like a shadowy monster that can best possess things like, okay, but now sometimes we get everything but the kitchen sink. So I totally get that criticism. Very valid though. Very, very, very understandable there.
Especially Alan Wake 1, you see that the most. I'm not going to disagree with you at all, but like the contrivance that like, oh, you need to go get your wife because she's not here right now, she's in a different castle, but like they didn't really think about like what the enemy would be more than, wouldn't it be cool if you shined a light and you stun the enemy
tornado,
and then you right, So it's like they wanted to do a lot of powers for this thing that they weren't
Mhm.
sure like exactly what it was, but I'm
Yeah.
happy they stuck with it because it kind of is its own thing. If it was a little more
Yeah.
eldritch, that would show. And I think
Mhm.
they pick and choose those little bits of like, oh, this part drives you mad. Oh, this part makes cults. But it's not
Yeah.
very much like
Oh.
there's an idol of a monster that's at the bottom of the sea. It's very, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up? What's up?
So-
you would raise your hand.
It throws me off.
It's like you're in class.
It throws me off.
Professor, I have a question about Alan Wake lore.
Professor Wake.
So-
Go ahead.
Professor Wake, I have a question. So you shoot you use your magic clicker on the shadow guys so you can shoot them. If the tornado is one of them and you have to shine the light to like hurt it, do you shoot a tornado?
So there are points in the game where you do shoot inanimate objects, although it's
But you shoot a
usually
tornado.
only light. No, I don't think there's
No.
maybe.
Oh.
I don't remember. There are several different boss
We gotta
type
look up
enemies.
Alan
think
Wake
one is a
boss
tornado.
fight.
I think
That's
maybe.
crazy. That's crazy.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, yeah, but like that, like I said, the dark presence can possess humans, people, animals, and objects. So like there's a giant tractor that will throw itself at you that you have to
Oh,
hit with light. You don't shoot it. You shoot it with your flashlight.
you
And
mean
it
your
slowly
clicker,
drains.
your magic clicker.
You have the
Well, no, the clicker
flashlight.
you get later. That's not a gameplay mechanic. That's just a narrative
Oh,
device.
Alright.
You're
Okay.
using a flashlight the whole time.
okay.
Or
That
flares.
Or
Mhm.
flares. Okay. Lots of light sources. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Alright.
lots of different ones.
All right. I think I understand now. I think
Cool.
I got it. If I can
We-
understand FNAF, I can definitely understand Alan Wake. I'm getting there.
Oh,
getting
for
there.
sure.
We can do-
for sure.
We can get to some of
Yeah.
the FAQs here.
Yes, please.
So first FAQ here I have is, what is the dark presence? The dark presence is a paranormal malevolent entity. Think of it as the entity in DBD. It is malevolent. It is not
it's
good.
both a place, a state of mind. It can hold
Yes.
infinite amount of people and things, and it
Yep.
can pick people for some reason. It has reasoning
Yes.
somehow.
Okay.
The dark presence has intentions of corrupting people, and it wants to spread its influence. Now, if we look at it from Control's universe, which in Control there is, or I should say, the Alan Wake Control Remedyverse. In Control, there's an organization called the Federal Bureau of Control, the FBC. These people investigate these types of entities, and they also investigate altered world events, which is essentially think of them as like the X-Files, like
Okay.
they're investigating those types of events.
X
Like,
Files,
but they are primarily
Foundation. Like,
yeah,
all
they're
that.
primarily
Yeah.
alternate realities and dimensions focused. Just think of it like that.
Okay.
And they operate very secretively. So they are part of the US government, but weirdly the US government doesn't really know about them, which is
Oh.
kind of cool.
But they
but
can
no-
classify the dark presence. Like they're the
Yeah.
ones who know about it that kind
Mhm.
of need to research it.
And they refer to it as the shadow, which is really cool.
The shadow.
Why we didn't get a killer with Alan Wake chapter, I don't know.
Who
I know
knows?
why we didn't, because Alan Wake 2 is still being developed and it wasn't finished yet. That's why. But
Okay.
we'll get into more of that later. So next question, what is the Dark Place? The Dark Place is an alternate reality or dimension that uses works of art to alter reality. So Hartman earlier was taking advantage of artists, video game developers, writers, painters to alter reality. However, the Dark Presence was also pulling the strings on Hartman, and he kind of eventually pays the price later down the road. That's in Alan Wake 2 and Control. Yeah, so that's kind of that. The Dark Place is an alternate reality. You explore more of the Dark Place in the DLC, the story DLC. You explore a lot of it in Alan Wake 2. I'm not going to get into any of that here. If you want to, go play that, or we will have a part 2 in the future. Next question, what is Cauldron Lake, and why is the Dark Presence trying to escape it? Cauldron Lake is the entry/exit point for the Dark Place. So it is essentially a gateway to the dark place. The dark presence wants to escape to take over living things and spread its influence. Like we said,
Mhm.
it is an evil entity, like the entity in DVD. It wants to do bad things because it can.
Yeah.
Next question. How can Alan write manuscripts that become reality? Okay, so this is a little bit of a complex question, but I'm going to try to break it down into 2 points. Number one, Alan's writing becomes reality because he's being influenced from the dark place. Like we just mentioned, the dark place turns art into reality. So what Alan writes on a manuscript page becomes reality. Okay?
Mhm.
Now, future Alan in the dark place, after he has saved Alice, is writing the story of the past, the events of Alan, to save Alice. So when he gets out of that car crash and he finds that first manuscript page, that is future Alan writing that into reality. So a little bit of a time weirdness here. Okay? Does that make sense, Maddie?
Yes. Okay. I kind of get it. So basically, when Alan goes to the dark place, he has the ability where whatever he writes becomes reality in either the dark place or the real world, because the dark
Yes.
place gives you that magic.
Yeah. If he's
So-
alone in the dark place, he can change reality
Yeah.
from there.
Knowing that he wrote the manuscripts in the past, but he also has to save his wife Alice, he writes the end of that manuscript, Dissension, whatever it was called, sorry.
Departure, yes.
Departure. So Alice gets out and he takes his place. And then goes back to the beginning of that story so he can give everything that past Alan needs to get to
Yep.
where future Alan needs,
Correct.
and creates a time loop.
Correct.
basically.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it.
And funny enough, that loop you mentioned, he's explored in Alan Wake 2. Again, I can't
Okay.
emphasize enough. Go play Alan Wake 2, y'all. It's so good.
No, literally. Like this, you
Okay.
keep it in your head that there's like an Alan who's saving his wife just to write that he
So
has to
there's
save
3
his wife.
Allens. There's 3 fucking Allens. There's past Alan, Mr. Scratch,
Yeah,
and future
sure.
Alan.
Although,
Basically,
yeah.
I swear, if there's a 4th fucking
I don't,
Alan, I'm
I
gonna
don't
lose
want to
my
spoil
mind.
anything.
it's so it's just kind
Yeah,
of one
yeah.
Alan talking to himself, putting himself through it. I think it's kind of like he steps out of the story once he steps into the dark place. He's kind of pulled out. He becomes the writer of his own story once
Okay,
he's
so
out
it's
of
kind
his
of-
own story, you know?
It's kind of like a play, and then there's like a narrator that you don't see, but they tell
Yeah,
what happens.
a narrator.
So Alan starts as part of the play as a character.
The
and then
writer is a
becomes the
character.
narrator, and then there's a new Alan, and they just keep rotating. Which leads to my question: what happens to future Alan once he's finished writing those plays and he's like going through the dark place, meets Mr. Scratch and all that? Does he
That's
just
Alan Wake 2.
die?
Play Alan Wake 2.
Like,
Yeah.
how does the loop reset with the
Play
last
Alan Wake 2.
future? Okay,
You
play
gotta
Alan
play
Wake.
Alan Wake 2.
I gotta
No,
play
but
Alan
like you're thinking, right? You're
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
like, what?
You're
How do we
definitely
free
on it,
Alan?
Maddie.
How do we get Alan out of here?
Yeah.
Like you don't
Does he
think he's
leave?
trapped?
Does he die?
No, he's trapped. He's trapped in the dark place to
Yeah.
save his wife.
Does Saga have to come in and shoot up?
He's trapped in
That's
the dark
Alan Wake
place to
2.
save his
all
wife.
the
We
guys
got-
with
He's
the
trapped in the
flashlight?
dark place.
Go
to
play
save
Alan
his
Wake 2,
wife.
Maddie.
Alan Wake is
it-
trapped. Please go save him.
But you mentioning Loop very much leads straight in to Alan Wake 2. Please play it.
Okay.
It's so good. And for the full story, just to caveat for Alan Wake 2, you have to play through Alan Wake 2 twice.
You can't. You
Wait,
do.
what?
You do. You have
Say
to
that
play
again.
it through twice. You have to play through
I have to
Alan
play
Wake,
Alan Wake
2
for the
twice.
twice
You have to play through Alan Wake 2 twice to get the full story.
to get the
So
final
it's kind of
ending.
like Silent Hill F, where you have to play it multiple times to get the whole.
Yes.
picture.
yeah,
similar
yeah,
to that.
XYZ game. Like it's
Yeah.
and it's.
But I
it's
think
not
Alan
like
Wake
a-
did it better.
Yeah.
Just gonna
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah. Does it
Okay,
change if you play it a second time? Like a lot?
It does.
Really?
Not a
That's
ton.
cool.
It has a different.
Oh.
It has the true ending. It has the
Okay.
true ending, and there are additional scenes
Right.
and
right.
content.
Okay. So it's a lot like Silent Hill F. Okay. Because it does the same exact thing. Okay. Another question.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. This is more of a hot take. Do you think Saga or Alan are written better? Like, who do you think is the better character? of the
I
two?
don't know. I couldn't.
I
tell you.
like, in my opinion, I like Saga sections more because
Mhm.
those environments and that gameplay is more enjoyable. I think they're
Mhm.
both written extremely well.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Mhm.
Yes, same here. I
'Cause
think
I'm not gonna-
Saga definitely feels like a better protagonist and like written to be a more enjoyable story. But
I
like
was-
the Alan Wake stuff is it just peak.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
great.
Because I was gonna say, from an outsider's point of view, who has no info besides this episode for Alan Wake, Alan Wake sounds better as a deuteragonist or a secondary character than an actual protagonist.
Mhm.
Deuteronomist.
Deuteronomist, thank you. And Saga sounds like a really good protagonist because someone
Yeah,
looking
she
into
is.
what happened to the famous author Alan Wake sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And not
Saga's
gonna lie,
incredible.
I just think she's really cool. I just want to know more.
She
about
is.
her.
She's a
Does
baddie.
she shoot Mr. Scratch? Does she kill him? Does she kill Alan?
We're not talking about that. That's a future episode. That's a future episode.
I want to know. I want to know so
I don't
bad.
even
Go play Alan Wake 2 and you'll
I
find
don't
out.
even know what Deuteronomist means.
Let's get back on track because we're starting to run long, but I know we had a bit of a delayed start.
Does she
but
go like pew pew?
She does have a gun and she uses lights, like Alan does. in this
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Amazing.
So again, with how Alan can write manuscripts and become reality, from the FPC,
Mhm.
the FBC, the Federal Bureau of Control's perspective,
Control,
Alan
yeah.
is referred to as a para-utilitarian. So think of paranatural, like they mentioned, and utilitarian, put those together. So which is, and quote from the wiki, is an individual who demonstrates supernatural, aka paranatural abilities, whether they be intrinsic of that person, the result of a
Uh-huh.
connection to an extra dimensional entity, so the dark place, or a place, or by tapping into the energies within an altered item or object of power. You don't need to know those. Those are control terms. Don't worry about that last bit. So,
Mhm.
so Alan is connected to the dark place, which gives him those abilities. Okay.
Yes.
And then finally, the last FAQ, which is probably the biggest one on people's mind. Why the fuck is the clicker magical?
Yes.
And if you just look at it from Alan Wake's perspective, we aren't really sure. We don't really know.
It's just a MacGuffin.
It's kind of vague and it's kind of left for interpretation. The clicker was given to his mother when he was a kid. He was afraid of the dark. Maybe that gives it power, possibly. We aren't really sure.
Right.
However, from the FBC's perspective, they categorize it as what I just mentioned, an altered item. Altered items are, and I quote from the wiki again, altered items are ordinary objects which have been acted upon by paranatural forces during an altered world event. Now, the events of Alan Wake are considered and categorized by the FBC in Control as an altered world event. I'm not spoiling anything. These are simply documents you pick up around the world in Control. They're completely optional, and you probably won't read them when you play through them. So, because of these altered world events, that object results in the development of a unique and sometimes dangerous property. So the clicker has experienced the AWE in Alan Wake, and so it has gained this ability so it can defeat that vessel the Dark Presence has inhabited.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the events of Alan Wake, and those are all my FAQs.
I like it. Cultural phenomenon, Alan Wake for the Xbox
So good.
360.
It's become a cult classic for a
Icon.
reason. It's kind of
Yeah.
niche and very unique
Mhm.
kind of story.
But if you're gonna play an Alan Wake game, play Alan Wake 2 and listen to this episode.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
if
you
you
already
like
have.
Alan Wake 2 enough,
I want to.
yeah, if you like Alan Wake 2 enough, go back and play the first game. You can get it on really cheaply.
I have a question.
Go for it, Maddie.
Control. So we've mentioned that. For the people who don't know, that's like another game not related to Alan Wake, but set in the same universe. Correct?
Yep. Yeah, so Control is a third-person action-adventure game. You're running around as Jessie Faden. She goes to the FBC, which is located in New York City, to locate
Right.
her missing brother.
Okay.
And so she she gets supernatural abilities, and yeah, I'll leave it at that.
All right.
You're
One more
fighting
question.
an interdimensional being there.
Oh.
So
Another
Go for
question. Another question. Do you have to play Control to play Alan Wake 2?
you don't. However, both Control and Alan Wake 2 both have story DLCs that play into each other's sequels. So Control has the AWE DLC, which plays into Alan Wake 2. And Alan Wake 2 has the Lake House DLC, which plays into Control Resonant, which releases later this year.
Okay.
So if you want an order, play Control, play Alan Wake 2, play Control DLC, and then play Alan Wake 2 DLC, and then play Control Resonant.
Or is it Control, Control 2, Control DLC, Alan Wake 2, Alan Wake 2
No,
DLC?
you'll want to do Control, then the AWE DLC for Control.
Okay. Yes.
And then, which it has a couple story DLCs, you can play them, but the AWE one is the one connected to Alan Wake. So Control first, the AWE story DLC for Control, then Alan Wake 2, then Alan Wake 2's Lake House DLC, and then you'll play Control Resonant later this year.
Okay.
That's the straightforward way to do it. But I like my idea of you bounce between and make it more complicated.
Yeah, you could do that. Like
bounce between, make it complicated.
Yeah, so let's get into the tomes. So Dead by Daylight's Tome 18 revision. Alan Wake released on January 30th, 2024. That's the chapter. Alan Wake 2, just for reference, was released on October 27th, 2023. So very quickly, I want to let people know.
Months.
Yeah, so 3 or 4 months. They were developing the chapter alongside Alan Wake 2's development, so that's probably why we didn't get a map or a killer, unfortunately, but there's always a chance we get a part 2, which would be really cool.
But it was kind of like Alan Wake 2 released, and then a little bit later it's been cemented as the game of the year 2023, at least in my opinion.
It won 3 really good awards. It like won game direction, story or something, and then like art direction or something. It run 3 big games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have 2024 was a big year for, I mean, the DBD chapter came out, but also the Game Awards had the big Alan Wake presentation to really celebrate it there.
Exactly.
So don't underestimate how big it was at the moment. It was
huge.
Fantastic.
Alan Wake 2 is just a step up. It was just so much
getting
better.
A tome with it.
Yeah, very cool. And
best
again,
game direction, best narrative.
Yeah. And Matthew Peretta voices all these tome entries. So, really quick context for the tome entries. The tome entries are essentially a explanation of how Alan enters the fog, the entity's realm. He essentially writes himself into the fog in hopes of escaping the dark place. So, in the tomes, which we'll show here, we'll listen to in a few minutes, you'll hear him kind of explaining he's in the dark place. He's thinking to himself, he's writing, and then he eventually thinks of a way to write himself in via Night Springs. In the Alan Wake universe, Control universe, Night Springs is essentially what's the show? Twilight Zone. It's essentially the Twilight Zone. It's essentially just an anthology series where you write, one-off episodes. He's essentially kind of refers back to that and writes himself into the world of DBD, which is really cool. And he mentions Alice and a few other characters. So without further ado, enjoy the revision Dead by Daylight Dead of Night tome right now.
My throat is hoarse from screaming. I pace my writer's room back and forth. I know its measurements intimately. The typewriter stares at me from atop the writing desk. The blank page in the roller mocks me. I'd throw that thing through the window if I could. I squeeze the clicker in my hand. The thing that saved a whole town and trapped me in this dark place. How many pages have I written since then? How many hells have I endured to bring the one perfect story to life? The one story that would help me escape and return to Alice. I remember Alice walking into the study, placing a cup of coffee next to the typewriter, kissing me on the cheek, saying goodnight. Alice. The memory is like sand on the beach being devoured by the tide. With each ebb and flow of the waves of time, I lose more and more of my past. Alice walking through the door with a bottle of champagne to celebrate my first book deal. Her eyes so full of pride. Her eyes Her eyes. What color were her eyes? When the waves take away my last few grains of sand, when there's nothing left to remember, what will be left of me? I grasp at the grains of sand I still have. Alice, my books, my apartment in New York City, my vacation to Bright Falls, and Night Springs. Yes, I was a young, scrappy writer when I was hired to work on Night Springs. One of my first episodes was about a heroic escape. I put my characters through such danger, their escape felt so triumphant. Get to the typewriter, get to work. This is the one. I just need to remember the story exactly as I wrote it so long ago. Then I'll be free. The clack of the keys is a familiar refrain. It brings comfort and torment in equal measure. I type the name of the episode upon the blank page. Dead of Night. The decaying city crumbles behind them as they run through the forest. Their exodus from the city was not easy. The fog closed in on them. They had to get out. They were pursued by the very thing they had summoned. Only 4 of them had made it out alive. But home was still so far away, across realms, in another dimension, and all they could do was run. Eloise grips Darren's arm, holding it tight around her shoulder. The dread had hurt him badly, and he'll bleed to death if they don't find a way home. Adrian urges the group onward, further into the forest. The trees grow thick around them, and Michelle yelps as a branch whips at her arm. The trees stand shoulder to shoulder, forcing the group down a single path through the forest. The ground quakes, and Eloise plants her feet. She's been carrying Darren for so long, and he is so heavy. Somewhere behind them, the dread bellows a hungry cry. It wants to feed on their misery, on their sorrow, on their souls. And it's getting closer. Alan Wake watches as his characters struggle for a way out. He can't see one. The trees stand shoulder to shoulder, flanking a path that ends in a wall of billowing fog. And the sight of it turns Alan's stomach. Keep them away from the fog. No matter what, keep them away from the fog. Adrian gasps and points in the direction they came. A twisting, writhing silhouette blocks what little light remains in the sky. They all watch helplessly as the dread approaches, getting closer and closer, until... I sit back in my chair looking at the words on the page. It's always been a pain in the neck to format a script on a typewriter. But there it is. My episode of Dead of Night, just as I saw it. I remembered every detail of the script perfectly. The strangers who found themselves in a dead city in a world of eternal night. The crumbling ruins, the dread emerging from the ground, the chase, the forest, the wall of fog. The thought of the fog sends a shiver through me. I could remember all of it, all except for the ending. I clench my fists and look down in my lap. The ending. The ending. My senses come to life as I think back on my days on Night Springs. I can smell the cigarettes smoldering in the ashtrays. I can hear the thick, phlegmy coughs of the veteran riders as they sat around the table pitching ideas. I could feel the weight in the pit of my stomach, the tremble in my hands. I was the youngest in that room by far, but I was hungrier than they were. I was eager, desperate to make my mark. I remember sitting in the showrunner's office enduring a round of notes, how it felt to not get the script perfectly right the first time. I remember I got notes about the ending. The ending. Did I struggle with the ending back then too? Is that why I'm struggling with it now? What I wouldn't give for something to read. Dog-eared, well-worn paperback. One that I would reread whenever I felt stuck. How often had I read that old thing? What was it called? I try to conjure the image of the book in my mind. It has no cover, only images of... And at that moment, it all comes back to me. The decaying city crumbles behind them as they run through the forest. Darren cries out in pain and clutches the bleeding wound in his side as Eloise pulls him down the forest path. The ground quakes and Adrian loses his footing, stumbling into Michelle, knocking them both into the dust and dirt. Alan watches and waits. Eloise and Darren come up against the wall of fog at the end of the path. They had run from the fog in the city. They look around for some other way out. The trees stand shoulder to shoulder. Michelle crawls along the dirt trying to find her glasses. Instead, she finds something that makes her scream, first in fear, and then in delight. They all gather around and marvel at the discovery. A book bound in flesh, covered in ancient symbols of unknown origin. The dread's bellowing grows louder. Michelle flips through the book, squinting, trying to read the symbols. She has knowledge of the arcane. She knows the book can help them escape. She just has to find the right incantation and read it aloud, all without her glasses. Adrian gasps and points in the direction they came. A twisting, writhing silhouette blocks what little light remains in the sky. They all yell now, begging Michelle to read faster. Her fingers stop on a page. She doesn't know if it'll work, but she must try. She reads aloud the words, the language cutting through the air like rusty blades. As she speaks, a great blue orb appears around them, growing larger and larger until it explodes. And then... I did it. I remembered the ending of Dead of Night exactly as I had written it way back when. So why didn't it work? The script had ended with Michelle finding the book and reading the spell that sent them home. So why am I still here? Suddenly, I can smell cigarette smoke. And suddenly, I feel like a timid young writer again. The way the showrunner stubbed out his cigarette, the way he threw my script at me from across the desk. He called the ending a deus ex machina, said the book bound in flesh came out of nowhere. I hated the fact that he was right. He told me to try again, to make their escape mean something. I never felt so low as I did that day. So alone. Life before Alice was always so lonely. I remember the way Alice would sit next to me on the couch, listening. Not making suggestions, not soothing my ego, not stopping me from beating myself up about not being good enough to break through my writer's block. She would just sit there, with me, listening. I remember the way she would hold my hand. It was all she needed to do to calm me down, to slow down my racing heartbeat, ease the tightness in my chest, and open my mind to... I stopped dead in my tracks. Even now, Alice is helping me. I have the ending. I really have it this time. The decaying city crumbles behind them as they run through the forest. Eloise pulls Darren down the forest path, and he cries out, clutching the bleeding wound in his side. The ground quakes, and Adrian and Michelle stop each other from falling. They come to the end of the dark alley, and Alan quivers at the sight of the wall of black fog. The trees stand shoulder to shoulder. The dread bellows as it gets closer. Alan knows what he must do to finish the episode. It's the same ending that went on the air years ago. He had celebrated that night with his friends. Which friends? And he had felt 10 feet tall, an actual writing credit on Night Springs. Adrian gasps and points at the dread's twisting and writhing silhouette. They've tried to find any way out, but there is none. Except for the wall of fog. The showrunner had shaken my hand and flashed that crooked grin of his. It was the first time I really felt like a writer. Eloise takes Michelle's hand, and she takes Adrian's. Eloise helps Darren cross the threshold of the fog, and she follows. Then Michelle. Then Adrian. They walk through the fog and vanish from sight. The end. Almost. The dread slithers down the path, bellowing louder than ever. Alan grits his teeth. He's running out of time, and he knows it. The wall of fog is calling to him now. Cold sweat beads on his forehead. This must have been how Eloise, Darren, Michelle, and Adrian felt. Trapped, with only one way out. But where would that way lead? One last memory about his time on Night Springs came clear as a bell. He made sure the script ended on an ambiguous note. Where did the ominous fog lead? The real world? Or something worse altogether? Alan stands before the fog, trying to peer through. He knows he must act quickly. The dread will be upon him at any moment. But I have to be sure. I need a sign. The single speck of light flickers so suddenly, so brightly through the fog that Alan almost starts the sight of it. A light in the dark. The light had always been there for him ever since Alice went missing in Bright Falls. The light had been his guide, his savior. And here it is again. Alan reaches out to touch the fog. It's warm and inviting, like Alice's hand is warm in his. His racing heartbeat slows down. The tightness in his chest relaxes. "Come on," she says with a smile. "Let's go for a walk." And for a brief moment, she's there. Alan can feel her next to him as he crosses the wall of fog. He feels the sun on his face. A miracle in itself. Tears of joy well up inside. It's too much. And it slips away. Alan slips away. And fog turns to shadows.
And that is the end of Tommy Teen for revisions. I hope you enjoyed a revision. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's do one last segment for before closing this episode. Let's add to our ongoing killer tier list. If you don't know, we're building a killer tier list with the one killer per episode until we've gone through the entire roster. This week is The Shape, aka Michael Myers.
Oh,
Who's
God.
not in the game anymore?
Who's no longer in the game. RIP.
Mhm.
For those that don't know or haven't been keeping track, the tier list currently looks like this: S tier, Nurse; A tier, Hillbilly; B tier, Wraith; C tier, Nobody; D, Trapper.
Mhm.
My boy Trapper's at the bottom.
Yeah.
All
Already
the way
on the
down
count
there.
of 3, we should
Where
say what position we
are
think
We
Michael
putting
Myers
him.
should be. Yes. All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. B tier.
B tier. You
A,
think he's
Bryson.
A?
Why do
I
you think
like
it's
I
A?
like that. I like saying he's A tier. When I think of like
He's-
where Michael is, he's arguably A tier.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think in the right hands he could absolutely be, and you have the right add-ons like that. He gets tiered up so quickly now. Like he can easily get Evil Incarnate and his dash super
Yeah.
quickly. The dash just eats pallets quickly. So if you're on, if you're on a map with few pallets, they're going to be gone so fast. Counterplay is just throw a pallet and hope for the best and run to the next loop and just hope hope that the next loop has a palette that hasn't been thrown yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Bryson. However, I do think he is in B tier just because of that strat of just going to a new tile, dropping everything. You can prolong that chase, you can prevent that hit, and you basically, yeah, you use a lot of stuff, but then everyone else is doing gens, and by the time he can finally maybe get another stock or try and hit you, 3 gens have gone. He's very much you have to snowball to win. He is a pub stomper, but when you get to that high elo, which I'm not in sadly, he is pretty consistent in the way you loop him, and you can pretty consistently get some gens pumped. But the real weakness is, are your teammates going to be doing gens? So yeah, I would say B tier. I can get A, but I'm going to say firmly B. Stevie, you also said B?
I'm still kind of stuck on B. He's arguably A tier, but I think yes, yeah. You put a Michael against 4 people who know what they're doing, and it's not the same game as like some of the other killers. Like notably a hillbilly, I think will give that good team a run for their money if comparable skill is brought into the game. I think Michael has a plateau, and I mean, he might feel good to play. He might feel like an A tier killer, but I think when pressed, he might not get it done.
Yeah.
B tier.
I agree. B
So we're thinking B
High
tier.
B.
Is he above or below Wraith?
Oh, high.
I think
B.
he's above Wraith. I think he's
Yeah, I agree.
He does what Wraith does, but like more on command.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I do think there are positions where Wraith is better, but on average, especially in high elo, not Wraith, the shape is better than Wraith.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we have the shape at B tier above the Wraith. That is 5 killers on our tier list. We have many, many more to go.
Hagathan,
Well, folks-
we're coming. We're coming for you, Haggy.
Here we are. Well, that is all we have for you this week, folks. Go follow us over on Twitch and join this Discord to stay updated on all things Red State Radio. 2v8's out now. We're going to try to get a few folks up for a full Swift this weekend on Friday and this weekend. So if you're around, jump in the Discord and try to get some 2v8 games in with us. We'd love to have you.
Yes.
And we'll be streaming as well. So if you can't catch us, you can catch us on the Twitch or YouTubes. Thank you, Stevie. Thank you, Maddie.
Well, of course.
Thank you, listeners
Thank you,
and
Bryson.
viewers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan Wake, for writing this episode.
Thank you, Alan Wake.
And we will see you all in the fog next week.
Bye everyone.